Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Shrikar Rajendran.
And I'm Anish Gupta.
And today we're going to be going over the most difficult decisions of the offseason in the NFL this year. And it's mostly quarterbacks. Let's start with the first one. And what should the Patriots do if Tom Brady doesn't return?
I feel like going into these formal meetings, Brady's going to have to keep an open mind about where he's going to play for the next year or so. As a result, New England should have an emergency plan. And I think that could come... One option for me was Marcus Mariota because he's viable, he's inexpensive. I don't know how well he'd fit in Belichick's system, but I mean, he may be worth a shot. Another option I had was just going in the draft. Jacob Love, Jake Fromm, what am I saying? Jordan Love, Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm. Those are all options for the Patriots as well.
I think so the offseason starts 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
And I think we've gotten essentially no clue about what he's going to do. And I kind of like the suspense. I mean, there was actually a few days ago they saw him and Edelman FaceTiming Mike Vrabel at a game, I think. And they were like, oh my God, what does this mean? What does this mean? But maybe they just could be trolling us, whatever. But I think if Tom Brady doesn't return, I don't think Mariota's a good fit just because Belichick's been so used to a pocket passer. Now, he can make people work. It's just, think about it. Matt Castle, when he replaced Brady, was a pocket passer. Jimmy G as well. Also, Jacoby Brissett. They were all pocket passers. So I think they can develop one that doesn't involve a lot of running. Because, to be fair, they stay towards a more traditional round game with, two running back sets, right? Or one out the backfield taking these wheel routes. So, I don't think a running quarterback would make sense. I think Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton are two interesting prospects because I don't think Jameis Winston is going to stay. I'm not sure. But also, I know he had the 30 interceptions and all that, but and I know the LASIK eye surgery or whatever seems kind of stupid, but hey, he did get surgery on his eyes, and also he did play through a torn meniscus. So, he was playing hurt for a lot of those games. So, you never know with the new system, and he has shown traces of, he has shown some good traces during games, right? Like where he throws for 400 yards and these touchdowns. And he's won some big games before, and he does have a winning record on his resume at 9-7. So I think Belichick could make him and Andy Dalton work as well because, again, people are forgetting Andy Dalton. He made the playoffs 5 times. So I think those are my two prospects. And if Brady doesn't return, either get that, go quarterback here, and maybe take a tight end with the later pick in the draft. And with your first round pick, just upgrade the positions that you need to. If I were them, I would get best talent in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. But one person I'm really scared of going to the Patriots is Josh Rosen. Mosey, I don't like Josh Rosen.
No, I think that's a great fit too.
I do too, because I think he's exactly the type of player that Belichick wants, and I feel like they do a really good job of turning him into an NFL quarterback.
That's a great... I love Josh Rosen. Yeah, that's a great...
And so, the Cardinals the Dolphins got him for really absolutely nothing from the Cardinals, and the Patriots can get him for cheaper. Yeah. So, I think that's someone they look into, even if it's just as a backup quarterback, go for him. And then, if not, in the draft, I think that Jacob Eason and Jake Fromm are Patriot-type quarterbacks. Jake Fromm more than Jacob Eason, just because I feel like he's a game manager, just like Brady.
Also won some big games.
Yeah, he's had good running backs his whole time at Georgia. He's worked an offense really similar to the Patriots. So I think if you go for him and maybe even let him sit his first year and just learn, then I think that that'd be a really good option. Even if Brady comes back, I would look into maybe drafting Fromm if he's available in the second round to give him a year under Brady, and he'll be the heir to the throne.
Yeah, that's a great take. I completely agree with Josh Rosen. I just think he's been in unfair systems his first 2 years, and he's shown traces in UCLA of being a great quarterback. And I think with the right system, he can really do some damage.
Yeah. So you talked about Jameis Winston. Our next question is: should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers move on from Jameis Winston? You obviously have some high hopes for his future.
So I would say no because I think you can. They showed flashes again of it, making it work with Bruce Arians there, and I think. Just give him. I wouldn't say if I were the Buccaneers, I would try and get maybe a DeAndre Swift in the round or in the draft. Get either a running back or try and boost up that O-line because simply put, he did get a lot of QB pressures this year. Mm-hmm. Also, and I think he's throwing it too much. He's Arians always had this problem of throwing it too much, right? That's why he didn't really he wasn't able to make David Johnson, develop further. And until, I think after he left is when he started really hitting it off. So I think you need to run the ball more because that opens up the passing game. If you keep passing it, then obviously, right, teams are not going to stack the box. They're going to spread out coverages, disguise things, yada, yada, yada. And he's going to throw more picks. And that's what we saw here. So I think Jameis Winston, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can make this work. If they don't believe so, fine, find a quarterback in the draft. But I think Jameis Winston does still have a future in this league.
Yeah, I think we got to note that Winston had a bottom third rushing attack, and plus he had the 29th ranked scoring defense. I think, exactly. And there is a lot of hope there. It really comes down to what Bruce Arians is going to think, because it depends on if he wants to stay mediocre or if he wants to push the Bucs into the playoff conversation. And I think perhaps some help with both defense and the ground attack, that's taking a step in the right direction. And with Winston as the primary signal caller in 5 seasons, Tampa Bay has one winning campaign. But listen, they won 4 of their last 6 games this year. So I think there's a lot of hope there. There's a lot of potential.
Almost beat the Texans too. And I think in that late game run stretch, also they beat the Rams. They've shown traces of being a playoff team. And I think Jameis Winston can lead them to the playoffs. I'm not sure how he's going to do in the playoffs, but I think he can lead them to some great things. But it really, again, you're right. It depends on what Bruce Arians thinks.
Look, if we were going over his season and he had 15 interceptions, this would be a completely different story. We'd be marveling over the year he had last year. But the sheer number of turnovers he had are kind of terrifying to an offensive coordinator and to a head coach. Because, 30 interceptions, you can't go like that.
5 fumbles.
5 fumbles. And it's not like the number's been going down for him. He's on an upward trend of turnovers. So you look at Baker Mayfield, he's been on an upward trend too. And then some of the other young quarterbacks have been more on a downward trend. And so we're questioning whether Baker can, fix it. And Jameis Winston's been going up. So that is why I honestly, unless they see a perfect fit with him, I wouldn't bring him back. I would try and find a way to move on. And the numbers scare me. 35 turnovers.
I respect that. I think it's really it's really a 50-50. But I think let's bring up Baker for example. Obviously, I'm a Browns fan. So when Baker obviously has turnover problems, but at least he just got an offensive coordinator named Alex Van Pelt, and he's making him switch his footwork. He's making him start with his left foot instead of his right, and that's work with quarterbacks such as Aaron Rodgers and Andy Dalton. Jameis Winston is a bit too old to have his whole fundamentals changed. Baker's only 2 years in, right? There's still time for him to change his mechanics. Obviously, with the chip on his shoulder for the first time, underachieving in his career, right? In his football career, whether it be college, NFL, whatever. But Jameis Winston, there's really not much you can change about his game. He's going to throw it a lot. He's going to throw a lot of touchdowns, but he's going to turn the ball over. And the question is Bruce Arians willing to take that on and still willing to try and develop into one of the best quarterbacks in this league?
Yeah, and we have 2 more quarterbacks we want to go over. Should the Carolina Panthers trade Cam Newton, and should the Dallas Cowboys pay Dak Prescott what he wants?
Let's start with Cam Newton. I think if Newton's foot heals, then Carolina can definitely boost his trade value. I think a lot of teams are going to be willing to give up assets for a healthy 30-year-old quarterback, such as the Bears. But I feel like when the Panthers really want him to return to that 2016-2018 form. He threw for 3,395 yards, 24 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He completed 67.9% of his passes. That's really good. And even in that year, Newton struggled to finish the campaign because he had a shoulder injury. So if you think about it, because of the wear and tear on his body, they're really skeptical. A lot of teams should be just skeptical about where they want to go with Cam Newton.
Man, Cam Newton is one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. And I think he just doesn't get enough respect around the league. I honestly, people say Andrew Luck's better than him. I don't think so. He's had a better career than Andrew Luck. And
we can't really determine that.
More MVPs in the same amount of time, I think.
But okay, just because he had one MVP season doesn't mean that all the rest of his seasons are better than Luck.
Luck has been more consistent. But Cam has been more electrifying. He's changed the game a bit more, and he's obviously had a bit more accolades to show for it.
And he's not
both
retired.
of them, but even then, if we were to take that tenure, I think he still had a better career. It's up for debate, but I think Cam Newton. So I think they just, Ron Rivera ran him too hard to the ground, and it's not. They're trying to the Panthers are trying to make him into a pocket passer, which is just stupid. That's not his game. See, again, back to the Jameis Winston point. You can't change a quarterback's game when they're 5-6 years in the league. It just doesn't. That's not how it works. right? Like that's why like Brett Favre when he had that bad year, but first 2 years were kind of bad. They were able to change him and modify his game to where at least, he still threw the ball, like he still threw a lot of turnovers, but he was able to at least make his game more electrifying. Same with Peyton Manning, who had one of the worst rookie years in NFL history. So I think in regards to with Cam Newton, I think he does need kind of a new system because, maybe Matt Rule will run him more if his foot gets better, right? Also his shoulder injuries, it's still nagging on. I think the Bears would be a great fit. I think it's honestly between those two, Panthers and Bears, but I think if I were the Panthers, I would try and give him one more year and see what he can do under Matt Rule's system.
I feel like it's just such a big risk because, he had injuries in the past. This is a brand new coaching system.
But it's a risk only if you want to get rid of him. And the Panthers haven't shown they want to get rid of him yet. That's true. If they want to get rid of him, they still have to show his value if they want the maximum thing. So they still have to show that he can still play at a high level. Otherwise, teams are just going to be like, hey, can he still produce for us?
I think
the Panthers won't have an answer.
You can pick a quarterback at number 7, or you can go Kyle Allen. But yeah,
Kyle Allen is not the answer.
Yeah, he's not. I think just him struggling late in the year, I think that just killed everything that the Panthers were just going for.
I wouldn't say definitively yet, but I think the Panthers lost hope after Ron Rivera got fired. Right, we were talking about this earlier, and I think that's why they went 0-8 in their final 8 games.
Yeah, I think the problem with Cam is that he's had so many years where he's been run into the ground, you said, by his offensive coordinators, and injuries have started to pile up.
Yeah.
So he's got lower body injuries that's made it hard for him to run, and he's got shoulder injuries that have, made it harder for him to throw. So,
but also keep in mind he's gotten a lot of time of rest.
That is true, but I still think that he's just far too injury prone, and the way that he plays, all of these years of football building up on his body has made it so hard for him to play quarterback the way he used to. And so I think if you take away the running part of his game, he's really not a good quarterback.
Yeah.
So
he's pretty mediocre.
I would try and trade him because I think the Bears will be desperate enough to give up an early to mid-round pick, not a first-round pick, maybe a second or a third.
I'd say maybe a third or a second.
Yeah. So I think that this is the time you'll be able to get the most from him. But the only problem with that is where are you going to go next with quarterback?
For the Panthers?
Yeah.
I think at number 7, if you can get Justin Herbert, I think he's one of my favorite prospects.
I do too. I just don't know if he fits the Panthers.
6'6"? He's a big quarterback, big strong body.
Here's my thing. I don't think we're gonna know whether Cam leaves until after that number 7 pick. Because if they select a quarterback there, then it's over.
That's true.
But then again,
but keep in mind off season's before the draft, so
I get that.
Bridgewater could fit that offense too.
I don't know what's this whole buzz about Teddy Bridgewater. He's shown prowess in 5 games, and also
because he can win.
No, but that was under a completely dumbed down system for him, where he literally just had to game manage. He was
okay, and he can do the same thing with the Panthers and Christian McCaffrey.
It's different though because the Saints had a better overall team, better overall defense, better overall system. Matt Rule is still a rookie head coach. McCaffrey can't do everything, as we've seen, right? Mm-hmm. He was putting up big ass numbers, and they were losing every single game. So I don't think that's how it works.
My early prediction is still that the Panthers are going to have the number 1 pick next year. I think that they have a lot of trouble on their team.
Number 1.
Yeah, and they obviously this is a huge quarterback problem they have. They've got a lot of holes on the rest of their roster. Really, only one good receiver, and
they lost their culture.
Yeah,
they lost it with
Kuechly's gone. They have a new coach. Yeah. I think
lost Greg Olsen.
Perfect storm for them to have the number 1 overall pick. So let's move on to Dak Prescott. Should the Dallas Cowboys pay him what he wants?
Here's the thing. I don't think they should pay him what he wants, but he does deserve a good amount of money, but not what he's asking for, because that's just blown out of proportions.
The question is, should they?
Yep.
Yeah.
They kind of have to. Are you really gonna find a quarterback better than Dak Prescott in the draft or in free agency? I don't think so.
No, but you will next year.
Maybe Tom Brady. How? Who?
There's a ton of good quarterbacks next year.
None of them are going to
No. I'm talking about in the draft next year.
Oh, in the draft. Okay.
Yeah.
I get that, but it's the Cowboys, right?
That's
they
true.
always want to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
They always want to stay relevant. So I think, Dak Prescott is an interesting story, obviously with his mom, the whole thing, right? And what he's been doing for this team. He's a winner. He is a winner. And obviously last year he choked in the game that mattered the most, right, against Philly. But I think he still showed that he can win some games. He has 1 playoff win on his resume, and I think he's shown at least Jerry Jones that he can be the face of this franchise, and he's true guy off the field, right? Great leader. So I think the Dallas Cowboys should, and I don't know if they will. But like, I mean, he doesn't deserve it, but like they should because they have to.
But once they sign him, and if they meet his demands, he is going to be under so much pressure. Like,
well, he's putting that on himself.
He's got to produce points at a high rate.
Yep.
I don't know. The pass defense is just not good.
I think they were arguing on guaranteed money. I believe there was an article on that. They were arguing about it was like a few million in guaranteed. Like just sign it. It's like, I mean, I get it. Like I would want to make the most money too, but like
it's just greed at that point.
You just haven't but you haven't shown a lot in the playoffs. Like though he has a win, he hasn't shown a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hasn't made it past the divisional round yet. So and he's had a lot of talent on his team.
So I think the problem with that is, are you going to re-sign? You're going to put all your eggs into Dak Prescott's basket, and Amari Cooper's going to slip away. And we've seen Dak Prescott without Amari Cooper.
And it wasn't that
bad.
It wasn't that. That was, I agree, the first half of that season, they went 3-5.
I mean, it would be him and Michael Gallup is who he's throwing to. And so I just don't think that's enough.
But it is a receiver-heavy draft.
That is true. But the problem is, are you going to rely on so many young receivers that you don't have a guaranteed number one? And do you think Dak's going to be able to get it done with that?
That's a good. I mean, I agree with that. Like, but to be fair, they're gonna have to let some people walk. Like,
if I were them, I feel like Byron Jones and Amari Cooper are too important.
I think Byron Jones is gone.
I do too. I think he's going to leave. But if I were them, I think those two should be more important than Dak. Because
I would re-sign Cooper.
Yeah.
I'd re-sign Cooper first.
In a game, what is the position that can alter an entire game? It's the quarterback. Like, and I think quarterback is just so important.
But I just don't.
That's why I think you have to keep, like, it's that position can change an entire game and on any given Sunday.
But that doesn't mean you should settle for Dak Prescott.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. Like, I'm fine with them keeping the negotiations, like keep negotiating. But at the end of the day, we all know that quarterbacks are what drives this league, what drives teams, what pushes them to that pedestal. Like, so I think you have. I mean, they're gonna have to.
Yeah, and I think a franchise tag might be a better option for them because you have 1 year of it. It is going to be a lot, but you have 1 year where then you can make this decision again in a year where I think the draft will pan out more for them at the quarterback position. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. Speaking of the draft, let's move on to this year. What needs should both the Detroit Lions and New York Giants address with their first picks?
Well, I'm gonna start with Detroit. Jeff Okudah. That's just my pick. If they don't trade it away. If they don't trade it away to a team that wants Tua, Jeff Okudah's my pick.
So the thing is, Giants and Lions both want him, and he is a pretty damn good corner. I mean, play for the Buckeyes, but okay. No, if the Lions trade down, right now that the Giants have shown interest in Okudah, I think now they're going to keep their third pick. I mean, I think they should let Slay walk and just they should draft Jeff Okudah. But like the Giants also want him. I think if I were the Lions, they just haven't built that. They don't have a culture anymore. Like they really didn't. They really haven't had one with Matthew Stafford. I mean, could they possibly go Tua here? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a smoke screen.
Lions?
Yeah, I think it's a smoke screen. I think they're going to stick with Stafford.
No, don't expect the Lions to select a quarterback because here's the thing.
I wouldn't expect it, but think about it, like Stafford hasn't produced and he's been injured for the last 3 years.
But Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, they may not even make it through the season.
Yep.
Let alone see a young quarterback blossom over the next few years. They need a player that can make an immediate impact. So expect them to go non-quarterback, whether that's Isaiah Simmons or it's Jeff Okudah.
What kind of impact will like an Isaiah Simmons or Jeff Okudah have on
this? I think
best
Isaiah
linebacker
Simmons.
Or cornerback prospect we've seen in years. Basically, that's the impact.
But it takes time to develop them.
But it takes time to develop a quarterback, too.
Tua will take long, but I think that it at least gives Lions fans and even the front office hope that they can build something there.
I personally think they should go with Isaiah Simmons because I have thought about putting him over Chase Young as the best defensive player in this draft.
What?
I mean, he is so good. And Chase Young,
he's good, but what's his true position?
That's the thing. I think he's so versatile that Matt Patricia, a wizard on defense, will be able to work with him. And you saw how athletic he is from the combine. I think he rose up.
Yeah,
and they need linebacker. He can also play slot corner. So it's like,
Isaiah Simmons is definitely like second. I would give him a top 2, top 3 kind of pedestal there for his play. But, I mean, I don't know if you take him over a guy like Okudah who, who solidifies your like this dude is like one of the best man-to-man corners I've seen since like probably Darrelle Reeves.
See, but I think Simmons, who can play safety, who can play slot corner, who can play linebacker, gives you the versatility where he gives you a linebacker and he gives you a secondary member.
So we've seen that with players like Deion Buchanan and Shaq Thompson.
Yeah.
Have they really made
Shaq Thompson has.
I don't like. But when I think of the Panther, like he was playing under Luke Kuechly's shadow, and also he had Kuechly with him, and he wasn't able to get these big like.
But I think Simmons is better than both of those guys you mentioned by a pretty good amount.
I agree with that.
Under 4.4 speed, he can jump with all of them.
I agree with that, but again, just keep in mind like those types of hybrids.
Yeah.
Another player I had in mind for the Lions was Derek Brown. He's another solid defensive player. He is a defensive tackle, but I feel like. I had him in my mock draft that we did, I don't know how long it was ago, but I had him at number 3. I said he was probably one of my favorite defensive players in this class from Auburn, and they played him like all along the line too, so he could potentially be a threat. I think my most likely choices are Derek Brown or Jeff Okudah, with Isaiah Simmons coming in third.
I don't think Derek Brown's going that early.
Yeah.
But I think Giants also, like, I think they could possibly take a tackle here. But they might go after Joe Thuney.
He's a guard.
Yeah, no, I know he's a guard, but I think they could possibly go after some O-linemen in free agency, whether it be two.
I actually had Isaiah Simmons going to the Giants at number 4.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to go Okudah at Isaiah Simmons.
So I think if it goes Okudah, if I'm the Giants, I would take Simmons because I just think they need linebackers so badly. But I think if Simmons goes, I think that you need to. I think you need to go for a tackle. No, there's no way you take Okudah.
No. They've shown interest in it.
I think they have, yeah.
So
but they need offensive line to protect their new quarterback.
Because you're right. The question is, what needs should they address? And I agree. Tackle would be tackling. But also you can't go wrong here with corner because Janoris Jenkins has he's kind of declined. Also, obviously,
but you gotta hope they have faith in their young corners they drafted last year. They drafted a couple of them, I think they have Nate Solder at left tackle, and I think Jedrick Wills would slide in perfectly for them at right tackle. Yeah. And I think you're gonna see over these next 5 years.
I think Conklin was kind of like wanted to go to the Jets.
The Jets, yeah. But no, but I think the next 5 years you're gonna see teams with young quarterbacks are going to prioritize offensive line more just because what we've seen these last few years. The Chiefs have good tackles. The Niners have good tackles. The Titans have good tackles. So I think you're going to look and...
Those are the just most important positions on
So I think that the Giants should go with I think, Jedrick Wills. But if Isaiah Simmons is on the board, I don't think you can go wrong with that pick. You go Simmons, you have a tackle.
Yeah. Don't forget, just like the Lions... Gettleman may receive a draft day haul for a team that wants to trade up for two or over. And in that scenario,
please be smart about it. Like if there is a good offer on the table, like don't
he'd be hard pressed to
say
no. Yeah. Trade down.
I mean, he hasn't shown that he's been willing to, but I mean, if you can, like.
He might just go for a defensive tackle because it seems like he likes defensive linemen there.
He might just go for another.
Derek Brown, just another one. Okay, so let's move on. What should the Seahawks do with Jadeveon Clowney? Should they re-sign him, franchise tag him? What's the best move for them?
I feel like Khalil Mack, Jadeveon Clowney has shown he can play 3-4 and 4-3. Yeah. The versatility works in, I think, Seattle's favor. His production leaves a little to be desired.
3.5 sacks.
Yeah, it's like, but we saw flashes of how great he is. That game against the 49ers. Yeah, and then against the Eagles in the wild card game. I mean, he needs to show that side of his game consistently. To justify a contract worth he wants like $20 million annually. It's like I don't know. Seattle should, I think, allow the market to open up and set Clowney's worth, if that makes sense, before giving him a massive deal.
Thing is, how much can you get back for Jadeveon Clowney? Can you even get a first round? I don't think you can. Maybe like low second round pay, like 30.
I don't know if they're gonna trade him, but like
a tag and trade maybe.
Huh?
A tag and
potentially.
Trade? Well, I
think tagging is the way to go here because that way, though you give up a stipend price here, at least he plays for 1 year and you can see what he does.
So I think the problem with Seattle is they're in such a big predicament in their division where the Cardinals are on the rise, the Rams I think they might have a bounce back year this year. I think the Niners are obviously on the rise and doing really well, and the Seahawks. I mean, they're getting older. They have to capitalize while they still have Russell Wilson, but they also have holes around the rest of their team, and they're in a stacked division. So I obviously don't like tanking, but I think like this might be a year where you start seeing the Seahawks decline, and so I think that
we say that every year.
I know that.
Also, you cannot underestimate.
I know
Russell
that.
Wilson.
Yeah,
As long as Russell Wilson is there, they're never out of the question. That's the thing.
He's
But the problem
never
is-
had a never been worse than 9-7.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But the problem is, I just think that their division is to be so good this year, and I think they're getting a little bit worse. That is it worth it for them to pay Clowney this huge amount of money
No.
to come and get 5 sacks or 3.5 like
That's-
last year?
No way.
That's why.
No way am I giving him a long term. No way. If I let him walk, I'm fine. But I'm knowing that I'm saving $20 million that I can use on a couple of guys that can help my team.
And you can go out in free agency and re-sign a different edge rusher.
Yeah.
I mean, Dante Fowler there.
Oh, I think you're right. That was
That's a good fit.
That's a good
Yeah.
fit. Very good fit.
So I think that Clowney obviously hasn't lived up to his potential at all of being the number 1 pick, the unanimous number 1 pick.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I think that you let him go and you try and re-sign another edge rusher, or even in the first round or second round of the draft.
Yeah.
There's some decent late round
talent
options.
there. Yeah, I agree.
So another edge rusher, more of a 3-4 end. Let's go to Eric Armstead of the 49ers. What should they do with him?
Yeah, he was their sack leader in 2019. He was a key component to that ferocious defensive line. But like cap space restrictions, that's just the problem.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to. I think him and Jimmy Ward, I think, are 2 people that are probably going to leave.
Yeah. Franchise tag him. I mean, he's like a prime candidate for the franchise tag, but they are talking about a deal with him, but they don't have the money for that.
Keep in mind, he had a stacked team around him, so it was easy for him to get that, penetration inside because they would double team Nick Bosa, they would double team Defoe, so it was I didn't see a lot of double teams on Armstead because it was like your pick your poison thing, and I think Defoe and Bosa are just a lot more electrifying than him, but that's not taking away from the fact that he still got 10.5 sacks and
yeah.
What would you think about trying to trade D Ford
No,
to open up a spot for Eric
no,
Armstead?
No, I do not like that idea.
You
at all.
don't?
I like
No.
D Ford more than Armstead.
Yeah.
But I'm saying he's more expensive. I think he had less production. And to be clearly honest, I think Eric Armstead is probably the better player right now.
It's because he was injured, though.
It's not a bad idea, but how much could you get
When
for
he
him?
was on the field, he produced.
Niners gave up a 2nd-round pick for him in his best season.
That's true.
How much can you
Literally.
get back for him? I think you can get a lot back more for.
Well, I think
Armstead
that
than you can.
That you'd hope that instead of getting a late round or a high pick for them, you would be getting someone that would take on his salary.
In my opinion, I think
Okay.
they should franchise Armstead, let Jimmy Ward go so you can draft a safety in the draft. Probably
Yeah.
Xavier McKinney
Or Delpit.
or Delpit, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's not a bad thing, but I don't think they'll be able to keep either.
Yeah, I think that their cap position is going to be creeping up on them, and just tagging him is going to only make it worse. I think they paid Jimmy Garoppolo way too much.
They're gonna restructure his contract. They have to.
Yeah, but
I
will
would
he
hope
be
so.
willing to?
I think he will be. They already restructured Quan Alexander. They're probably gonna restructure D Ford
They're
too.
gonna have to. I think they're gonna have to pay Kittle more than $10 million a year.
And they're going to have
yeah,
to trade
they're
someone
going
away.
to.
Whether it's Sherman, I mean, they're going to have to find a way to get rid of one of these humongous contracts they have because
It's a hard cap, man.
when they weren't
Yeah.
good, they were still paying high premium for good players, and now it's catching up with them.
It just goes to show in the NFL championship windows don't last this long. That
Yeah.
Again, back to being my point. The reason why the Patriots and Steelers were like consistently good this century was quarterback, coach, and O-line.
Well, and low cap hit.
Yes, exactly. And they were able to do that because they established a winning culture.
Yeah, and you look at all the fall from graces that have happened recently in the NFL, Broncos, Panthers, like all these teams are coming from Super Bowls, and now they're some of the worst teams in the league. It just goes to show how hard it is.
Broncos is a bit of a. I mean, they're on the
Okay.
rise now, but yeah,
They
for
are,
those,
but-
for those 3
yeah.
years prior, yeah.
But it just goes to show how quickly you can fall from some of the top teams
Also,
in
how
the
quickly
NFL.
you can rise from a single player.
Yeah, that is true. So that's all we have today. Thank you for watching. Now that you've heard our picks, tell us in the comment section what you think and what you would do if you were these teams. From the Cold Hard Truth Podcast, I'm Jack Smith signing off.